You know, I've obviously never been to space, right? Flat Earth could 100% be real. I've never been. I've never seen it. I've never seen space. Space could not even exist. We could be in a simulation. Do you want to go that far? Right? I could be fake. There is no way that I know anyone watching this video is real. There's no way you know if I'm real because you never see me with your own two eyes besides behind a computer screen. I could 100% be a simulation, right? But if we just want to negate everything science has ever told us, sure, flat Earth is real. And if flat Earth is real, that means I'm not real. That right there is your daily dose of mind. What's good, gang? How are we doing today? My name is Dalton. Welcome back. Second episode, Chilling with Dylan, episode number 2. We're back at it. We took a little couple week break there just because, I don't know, the whole podcast system is weird. Plus, I moved the room around. I don't know if you can tell. The camera used to be further back this way, but now it's here, I guess, on my desk. And yeah, I moved the bed, moved this over there just because I needed a new change of scenery. And so, yeah, right? The room's moved around. It's been a couple weeks. First episode, we talked about, I think, just my life since I quit exotic, honestly. You know what I mean? This one's a little bit better. We're still wearing the hat. This is just a different exotic hat. I know, boys. I know. Come on. I know I shouldn't be wearing the hat. I'm more. I even got a cute haircut, too. I just need to learn how to style the hair before I just, you know what I mean? Anyways, but as far as future episodes going from now on, we're not only on YouTube now, we're also on Spotfiy. Link is down below if you want to check it out on Spotfiy if you listen to it. It's also on Apple Podcasts. Basically anywhere you can find a podcast, this podcast is there. So if you like the audio version, it's there. If you like the video version, it's here. Another thing I want to mention real quick before we get into it is I'm thinking about having my Korean friend Chris on the podcast. He's from South Korea. He's lived there his whole life. He came to my school with me just to go to school in America. And I think maybe it'd be cool if I talked to him about his life in Korea versus my life in the America, right? I got a few professors that I could talk to. One of them has made documentaries for 20 years. The other one has been a professional radio DJ for 20 years. Those are both very cool topics to me, and I think it'd be cool to discuss on the podcast. And since we're talking about flat Earth, maybe I could get a flat earther on here, right? I'm sure they'd never come on the podcast, but we could do it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just brainstorming a little bit. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys like these solo episodes, of course, let me know. And yeah, we're just going to keep evolving, keep going with it. Whatever happens, happens. You feel me? Anyways, though, let's get right into the podcast. I've been doing a lot of stuff on TikTok and a lot of stuff on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, all the same thing. You know what I mean? And I love space quite a bit. And I wanted to make this podcast to talk about space. But I also love conspiracy theories and honestly just talking about literally anything. And someone commented on the last podcast saying, can we talk about conspiracy theories? And the reason I brought up TikTok is because I've been making TikToks about space for the past couple months. Like, people love them. I love them. You know what I mean? And two of the biggest ones I had that went semi-viral were flat Earth and the moon landing conspiracy, right? Both pretty big conspiracies, if you ask me, I think. I don't know any other conspiracies that well. I know they exist. I know some people believe that Donald Trump is sent to the White House to slay demons and lizard people, right? That one's pretty far out there, but I don't want to talk about politics. So we decided, you know what, let's talk about flat Earth and the moon landing conspiracy, because both of them are in their own right weird and pretty annoying, honestly. You know what I mean? It kind of makes me sad that one of humanity's greatest achievements of all time is still being debated, and people still look at it as if it never even happened. And of course, people are entitled to their own opinion. You know what I mean? I have my opinions, you have yours. That's cool. But to severely believe that the moon landing is fake and the Earth is flat is just unreal to me. And I mean, I'm sure they could say the same thing about me, right? If I am a government worshiper and no, I don't believe the Earth is round. I know the Earth is round, and I know we landed on the moon. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, yes, I can see some scientific evidence of the United States going against the Soviet Union in the Cold War, right? Obviously, the Soviets put the first man into space. I know that. I can understand why America would fabricate that just to win the space race, in a sense, and to honor JFK a little bit. But I truly can't see the moon landing just being faked, right? And someone commented on my video saying the reason the moon landing is fake is because they hired George Lucas and they used Star Wars technology. And so, Chief, I don't know about that one, right? The moon landing was in 1969, and Star Wars didn't come out until 1977. So that's a little time jump there. Star Wars was later, you know. I'm sure George Lucas probably got inspired from the moon landing. So yeah, that one didn't resonate with me at all. right? And then flat earthers are just, I don't know, right? I don't know what turns someone into a flat earther, you know? I can understand how people have been wronged by something, so they start being something else, but like, I was wronged by Earth being round. The government really screwed up everything I had going by telling me the Earth was round. I am now going to be a flat earther. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what goes through somebody's head, obviously. I don't know. And yeah, call me whatever you want, right? Government worshiper, whatever. I don't know. I'm not that down bad, I guess. I don't know. But I want to read some of these comments real quick because they were funny. So homeboy Peace and Well Seeker didn't just attack me for saying my opinion. He actually provided me some decent evidence that I could, I guess, apply in my debate against flat earth, right? He says, I'm 36 and a college educated geologist. I got into flat earth debates 5 years ago to shut them up once and for all. Okay. He was obviously on the globe side, the true side. What shocked me is when I was pro globe side, all the best evidence for curvature and motion were secondhand proofs like CGI or curved fisheye lenses that add curvature to any image. When if the earth was a spinning ball, there would be an infinite amount of first-hand proof since all motion must be observable and testable. Oddly enough, all real tests show that what we stand on is motionless. Why does GTA 5 look so realistic and like our world? It's also stationary and flat. So the first one we obviously got to talk about is, he said, why is GTA stationary and flat? Try to compare the real world to a video game, I guess, right? I mean, if you want, you can call Minecraft flat. if we're going to the ballpark of video games, right? A Modern Warfare map doesn't really look curved to me. But so I guess my rebuttal to this scientific provenness of it all, why can't I climb to the top of the Empire State Building and see England? Why can't I climb to the top of the Burj Khalifa and see South America and Dubai? See what I'm saying? Why, when I'm even higher up in a plane, before I'm over the clouds, can I not see the United Kingdom? Once again, same scenario. You know what I mean? But like, if the earth really is flat, obviously, there would be no curvature and no obstruction of my field of view. Because I'm on top of Mount Everest, I should be able to see New York City. You know? At least glimpse it. Thousands of miles of oceans in between, right? Whatever you want to say. But I should be able to see it. That's all I'm saying. You know? And then not only the distance thing and the whole field of view point of view, we also got seasons. Why do seasons exist if there's a flat earth? Fall, spring, summer, winter. If you don't know what that is, it's the earth's tilt. The earth isn't sitting flat, it's tilted this way. Therefore, when it moves, the sun's here, the earth moves around the sun, but as it's moving around the sun, the earth is also spinning, right? So when the earth is spinning and moving around the sun, it goes day and night, obviously, around the sun, okay? Because of the tilt, less sunlight is reaching to some places or different times of the year, causing colder seasons, you know? The equator is higher in temperature than the rest of the earth, just as in the poles of Antarctica. And what's the top? Is it Greenland? North Pole? Whatever's at the top and the bottom, that's the coldest, obviously, right? I know flat earthers are very much down for the whole concept of big government people with guns guarding the border of Antarctica so we can't go and look off the edge of the world. Last time I heard about that one was when Christopher Columbus, I think, was scared of going over the edge of the world when he was, trying to sail to India. And no, he stumbled on America instead, right? He really thought he was going to India, but he went to America. That was in 1492, And I know some people have done little tests here and there about curvature, and I've seen a few tests. And sure, some of the tests have said, okay, there's no curve. I've obviously never been to space, right? Flat Earth could 100% be real. I've never been. I've never seen it. I've never seen space. Space could not even exist. We could be in a simulation. Do you want to go that far? Right? I could be fake. There is no way that I know anyone watching this video is real. There's no way you know if I'm real because you never see me with your own two eyes besides behind a computer screen. I could 100% be a simulation, right? But if we just want to negate everything science has ever told us, sure, flat Earth is real. And if flat Earth is real, that means I'm not real. That right there is your daily dose of mind. And while we're at it, actually, I want to see some of the other facts they believe as to why the Earth is flat. Let's see. Apparently, this guy's name is Michael Marshall. He's a project director of the Good Thinking Society in the UK. He says, I've got a podcast where I talk to people who have kind of fringe beliefs, and instead of having a conversation a lot of people would have, if they are skeptical about something they're talking to believer, where you shout at them and tell them they're wrong and point out all the evidence and tell them, and it gets into quite a volatile discussion. Sometimes instead of that, I try to act civil and polite and try to explore the gap between us. I think we can all take a piece of advice from that statement right there. I would love to have a flat earther on this podcast, right? I'd love to have a civil debate about it. You know, I know I see or slander anyone who thinks the earth is flat, but it's just kind of outlandish to me. I would love to hear someone else's point of view on the matter. And I think that goes for a lot of different areas of life as well, right? So they believe that earth is actually an infinite plane in all directions that bisect reality, which is a really lovely idea. So I've heard some flat earthers say that the whole Antarctica, guns a-blazing type deal. And then some believe that earth is an infinite plane and never ends. So it will go on in north, south, east, and west and just go on forever and ever. And there is the above and the below, but there's no way of getting from the top to the bottom because it's just infinity of all ice in all directions forever. So there's no way of getting below the earth. And so this was when I first came across the flat earth movement in 2013. It was quite a vociferous debate that was going on. Big word. Earth is the only physical realm. You know, there's nothing else that exists besides Earth. Space doesn't exist in this case. Mars, it's all fake. All government propaganda, you know? We got north, south, east, west just going on forever and ever and ever. Wherever you can see, there is Earth. You can't go below. You got infinite sky above you. That's sad. You know, there isn't that, in that belief, there isn't a prospect of being able to travel to a different planet, you know, multiplanetary species. There is none of that. You got north, south, east, and west. Literally it. And speaking of which, I actually wrote a short story about that the other day. Not flat Earth, about space. Then he goes on to say that basically anyone just negates any picture taken of Earth from space, as one would probably do if you don't believe in space. And I don't know. I feel like they'd be pretty dead set in their beliefs. I feel like it would be very hard to have a conversation with one of them. You know what I mean? But I would love to nonetheless. I would love to go to Flat Earth Convention, literally on my bucket list. You know, make a whole video about it. Going to the Flat Earth Convention. I want to go very badly. I'm pretty sure there's one in Vegas, 2 hours away from me. NASA is a tool of the government, a tool of the Illuminati, a tool of the New World Order. They rely on their budgets, so they need to keep that money rolling in, which is why they keep churning out material that suggests the world is round. Some people even believe that NASA is a tool of Satan, and they have all sorts of convoluted explanation as to why that is. So this is now tying into religion. One of my favorite explanations was one of the speakers at the Flat Earth Convention, an Argentinian conspiracy theorist who said, "We know for a fact that the UN is a front for the world order because if you look at the Spanish name for the UN, it is the ONU. And if you read that backwards, it's uno, which is Spanish for one. And therefore, we know for a fact the UN is a front for the one world order because the reverse name of it in Spanish is Spanish for one." Absolutely preposterous, dog. Absolutely. An Argentinian conspiracy theorist who said, "We know for a fact the UN is a front for the one world order because if you look at the Spanish name for the UN, it is the ONU. And if you read that backwards, uno." I mean, hey, believe what you want, I guess. Yeah, it depends on who you talk to, right? It's not just that there's the disc version and the infinite plane version. There's actually lots of them out there. There's a myriad of different versions of the flat earth and the universe beyond it. So some will believe that we're flat, but the universe around it is pretty much as it is. That's quite a niche belief in the flat earth world, though. Some believe that many believe the sun isn't very far away, so it's very hard to justify the solar system as conventional science would have with a flat earth belief, especially a flat earth belief that we may be rebooted into creationism, and therefore has this kind of earth as the center of everything kind of way. Okay, so cool. Tying back into religion once again. It's a very age-old belief of the earth being the center of the universe and humans thinking that we actually matter, right? So if you're looking at it from a religious point of view, I could very much see how the earth could be flat and space could all be a work of Satan, right? But at the end of the day, we're not the center of the universe, right? We're just a part of it, you know? And like, as much as we want to think we're important, we're really not at the end of the day. So like, I guess we can go against everything. I even saw somebody say that they believe the government plugs in the sun every day. And the sun, imagine the lamp from Pixar, right? The one that jumps on that ball from the OG Pixar movies back in the day. Imagine that lamp pointed down at this disc-shaped earth. They believe, like this ring light right here, they believe, I'll use this empty prime bottle. This is the disc of earth, okay? This key is here, the lamp. The lamp light travels around it this way. Terrible description, I'm aware. But that's the reasoning for the sun to not shine on the entire disc the entire time, because they think that the government plugs in the light and it's a giant spotlight. They just kind of slowly move it around the day as the night goes. Some guy accidentally sneezes, achoo! Light moves back to China, right? Whoa! It was day, now it's night. What are we gonna do now? Then all of a sudden, corrects it back. The masses are in panic, and the government tells them it was a routine changing of the light bulb. Like, this stuff is actually actually unbelievable. And the sun was created on one of the days after the earth was already created. And so some of that belief that instead of the sun being millions and millions of miles away, it's actually quite nearby and much smaller. Like I said, these people change their views on it. You know what I mean? Everyone's different, obviously. How you account for seasons? It's just that you're further away from the sun at that point. Others believe that the world is a disk, but it's under a dome, which again goes back to the biblical idea of the firmament from being the roof on top of the world. So we got a dome theory. If you look at Werner von Braun, obviously the Nazi scientist smuggled out of Germany after the Second World War by Operation Paperclip, installed towards the head of the US space program. That's actually true, right? And it's kind of wild to think about. 120% pardon a Nazi German scientist to help work on the space program. That's kind of sick in a sense. It's kind of sad that they do that, but I mean, we got to the moon for it, I guess, right? His V2 rocket technology is partly responsible for America getting to the moon. And if you look at his gravestone, it references Psalms 19. It reads, "The heaven declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." So they say, why would the father of space exploration have on his gravestone a reference to the biblical roof on top of the world, if not a post-deathbed confessional? Never mind. We actually got to analyze that more. His V2 rocket technology is partly responsible for America getting to the moon. His gravestone has a verse from Psalms 19. It reads, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." So the guy who got smuggled out of Nazi Germany and is responsible for V2 rocket technology that got us to the moon dies with a quote saying there is a dome around the world. And the only way to get him out of Germany was to go along with their hoax. Now, see, that's actually a really cool point. This is why I'm doing this podcast, because I don't know. I want to learn more. Interesting. That's like age old right there. That's like kind of poetic in a sense, because if this is true, right, builds the V2 rocket, tries to get him to space, theoretically crashes into the dome of the atmosphere, he's forever silenced. He can't say anything about that. He takes it to his grave, literally, and he writes on his grave, "There's a dome around the world." So Mark Sargent, I guess he's the conspiracy theorist who proposed that first idea we just talked about. He says, when JFK was assassinated by the government or by an insight, it was an inside job. The moon landing was never real. He believed there was a civilization that used to live on Mars who carved a face on a rock on Mars, all kind of classic stuff. And the guy asked him, he says, "What counts as standard evidence and how do you sense check?" I thought I'd ask him, was there ever conspiracy theory that you used to believe in that you now know no longer to be true? He said, well, it's funny because I used to wonder why all of these different conspiracies were true. And then I realized the world is flat. So it all made sense because I thought, why did the government kill JFK? It's because they knew that we couldn't get to the moon. So the moon landing had to be fake because you can't get past the firmament because the world is flattened under a dome. So he said it was like the flat earth is kind of the Rosetta Stone of conspiracy theories to a degree. So homeboy who came up with that von Braun theory uses flat earth as the basis for every other conspiracy theory. How big is this dome? If I wanted to, I could go buy a weather balloon and buy a GoPro and send it to space. I'm pretty sure it's legal too. I might have to get in contact with somebody, but if I wanted to, I could probably send a weather balloon to space with a camera. Definitely want to do that at some point. So when I personally get the camera footage back and I see space from the weather balloon, if it actually made it up that far, if the firmament didn't get in the way, what am I going to say about it then? Obviously I did my own experiment. I got my own proof of space. Everyone else can use their own weather balloon ideas or go to space yourselves and see the earth is a sphere and we're on a globe, in the middle of nothing. And I mean, I guess it makes sense because since we are on a globe in the middle of nowhere and we don't even matter anyway, we might as well come up with some really preposterous theories. But nah, my boy Mark went all in on that one. He said flat earth is the basis. JFK was killed because we couldn't get to the moon. Moon landing was never real. Hollywood produced it. George Lucas created the stars for it, even though Star Wars was 10 years later. I would love to have somebody on, right? That's why I'm trying to do these solo podcasts about semi-interesting topics so I can build the podcast up, get some TikTok clips out there, shorts out there, right? I would never know how to get somebody on the podcast. I know how to get my friends on the podcast I'm going to bring on, but that would be a feat for me, honestly. It's definitely on my bucket list to talk to a flat earther. It has been for 3 years now. I made a video on Exotic about it. And so if I could get a flat earther on, easily, Easy. And I would love to talk about it with anyone who believes the earth is flat. So if you're a flat earther and you're watching this, comment down below. I would love to talk about it. And I told you guys we got two conspiracy theories today. Not just flat earth, but since flat earth is the basis of it all, we also got the moon landing conspiracy. And the moon landing conspiracy is a little bit different, right? Flat earth is one thing. You can go into so many different directions with it, north, east, south, or west forever, apparently. But the moon landing is something entirely different. And it still rubs me the wrong way that the greatest achievement of all time is not real. What can I do about it? I'm just a guy in my basement recording a podcast. On July 20th, 1969, American astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, you already know what Buzz looks like, he's right here, became the first humans ever to land on the moon. Around 6.5 hours later, Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon as he took his first step, and he famously said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." We all know that initial part, right? The American effort to send astronauts to the moon had its origins in an appeal President Kennedy made to a special joint session of Congress on May 25th, 1961. "I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out," however he talked, "of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." Very, very famous speech. Everyone loved it, right? It was super sad Kennedy didn't get to live to see it actually being carried out. Right. At the time, the United States was still trailing the Soviet Union in space developments, and Cold War era America welcomed Kennedy's bold proposal. Okay, we got enough facts from the back. And so now that we got the facts out of the way about the moon landing, I can understand the point of view as to where the moon landing is faked. Because the last moon landing was in December 1972. First one was in 1969. 3 years for, I think, 9 different missions. I'm not sure if I'm correct about that. It's now 2022. We're talking about going to Mars, and we haven't been back to the moon since 1972, right? 3-year run, never gone back. This phone I have here is smarter than every computer that ran the spaceship to get to the moon. So I can understand the point of view of saying the moon landing was faked. I can acknowledge it, obviously, because it is a little weird and a little skeptical that we haven't been back since. But now we got to look at why it's faked. The moon landing is fake because the American flag looks like it is flapping in the wind. If you look at a picture of it right here, it looks to be flapping in the wind. The simple answer is, it isn't flapping. It isn't an ordinary flag. If the astronauts had planted a regular flag on the moon, it would have hung slack like flags do on Earth when there's no wind. This wouldn't make for a very appealing photo. So NASA designed special flags for astronauts to take with them. All 6, so there's 6, not 9. All 6 Apollo missions that made it to the moon planted an American flag there. I can see how that can be viewed as completely preposterous. A special flag designed specifically for the moon. The moon landing is fake because you can't see the stars. Feinberg, I don't know his first name, one of the first arguments I heard and one of the easiest to debunk is the fact that there are no stars in the lunar sky. Or rather, there are no stars in the pictures that Armstrong and Aldrin took on the moon. But if you've ever used a camera before, it's easy to understand why. All of the exposure of the astronauts on the moon are daylight exposures, he explains. The surface was brightly illuminated from the sun, and the astronauts are wearing bright white spacesuits that are highly reflective. The exposure on the astronauts' cameras was too short to capture the spacesuits on the moon's surface while also capturing the comparatively dimmer stars. The same thing happens if you go into someone's back porch at night and turn on the lights. Even though you can see the stars from where you're standing, a quick exposure camera won't be able to capture them. 120% a fact. Yes, some will say you cannot see the stars in the moon landing pictures. Do you know how bright it is outside at noon? Do you see the stars when the sun is shining directly down? You don't. Atmosphere. You're not in space. Obviously, all these things, right? The sun at noontime pointing down on Earth, I would assume is probably 90% less bright than in space. I assume when you're in space, since there's nothing blocking it, the sun is 10 times brighter. So even though it's reflecting off the astronaut spacesuits and the camera can't even capture it, obviously, because that does work, I don't know if you'd see stars from the moon anyway. Because the moon doesn't rotate, so you're always facing the sun. I think it'd be a very fair argument to say you can't see stars from the moon anyway. Maybe you could. Maybe I'm just dumb. Very, very dimly, but I know a camera wouldn't see it. That one to me is just a little far-fetched. In images from the moon landing, it is possible to see certain objects even though they are in the shadows. Skeptics argue that if the sun were the only source of light, this wouldn't be the case. Therefore, the fact that you can see objects in shadow must be the result of special Hollywood lighting. In the Apollo 11 pictures, the sunlight is being scattered or reflected off of the ground every which way. And some of it, a small fraction, but enough to be able to see, scatters in the shadows. Interesting. The moon landing is fake because you can't see Armstrong's camera. Armstrong couldn't walk around the moon with a regular handheld camera in his bulky suit. He needed something easy to manipulate. The camera used on the moon was mounted on the front of his suit, which is where his hands are in the reflection. Stanley Kubrick filmed it. This is my favorite moon landing conspiracy. Stanley Kubrick, the guy who brought us The Shining. And 2001: A Space Odyssey wowed audiences in 1968 for creating a realistic image of outer space. It was so compelling that some conspiracy theorists later wondered if the government had actually hired Kubrick to film the moon landing in a soundstage. The thing is, the moon landing footage didn't look real because Kubrick filmed it. Kubrick's movie 2001 looked real because Kubrick enlisted astronomical artists and aerospace engineers to help him with it. The only evidence that Kubrick filmed on the moon has itself proved to be a hoax. That's like all of it, right? So now I want to watch. I want to watch the footage, actually. Also, real quick, can we appreciate something about that? I don't know if you can tell, but microphones sound so different now. And I learned about this in class the other day. Not only is the quality better because it's not the 60s anymore, I just think it's so strange how people talk differently. Like the guy in there says 1 0, right? And now we just say 1 0. They just had a different accent, okay? I think it's funny. Let's check her out. Beautiful rocket taking off. Okay, so yeah, the footage is obviously horizontal, cut off on the edges. You know what I mean? Let's just get to the moon landing.
Pound and a half. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket 20.
The Eagle has landed.
I'm at the coming down the ladder now.
Let's see. The famous quote.
I'm at the foot of the ladder. The limb footpads are only impressed in the surface about 1 or
Yeah, you can't even. He's like almost unintelligible, honestly.
2 inches. I'm gonna step off the limb now.
I'm gonna step off.
One small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. Okay, so would you tell me?
Little. Look at him jumping.
Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity.
Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. I do agree, yeah. I for sure can understand why some people think that's fake. Camera quality, awful. Recording quality, awful. What year is it? 1960. Where are they? On the moon. They can't just go to their local video store and buy a new camera. They're literally thousands of miles away from any supermarket. So footage was choppy. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's cool if you want to think the moon landing was fake. It's cool if you want to believe in flat Earth. I just don't understand this. What is this, about 40 minutes long? Not bad on time. It was 40 minutes long. I just don't know how to podcast correctly yet, so I have to cut out a lot of it. Don't judge. If you guys enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments. If you guys want to see more conspiracy theory stuff, let me know. I plan on having a couple guests on. I plan on having my friend Chris, who's Korean. He's super cool. Maybe just talk about his life in Korea versus my life in the United States. Maybe a couple of my professors who have filmed documentaries for many different things. Another one has been a professional radio DJ for his entire life. So I don't know. I think that'd be pretty sick. Let me know what you think. I could maybe convince a flat earther to come on. That'd be super cool. If you guys like the solo episodes, also let me know, right? This podcast is officially on Spotfiy too, so make sure you check it out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button. And I'll see you guys in Chillin with Dylan episode number 3. I love you all. Peace out.